All right, so if you're pouring money into Google Ads, you've probably asked yourself this a million times. What is actually working? Well, today we are going to decode the exact tool that answers that question. We're talking about attribution models and how you can finally give credit exactly where it's due. It really all boils down to this one simple question. A customer finally buys your thing. So, who gets the credit? Is it the first ad they saw? The last one they clicked? It sounds so straightforward, right? But believe me, that journey from a customer seeing an ad to actually making a purchase is, well, it's never a straight line. I mean, think about the last big thing you bought online. Did you just click one ad and bam, you bought it? I'm gonna guess probably not. On average, it takes somewhere between 7 and 13. That's right, 7 to 13 different touches before a customer actually converts. They see a display ad here, they click a search ad there, maybe a video follows them around. It gets complicated fast. And all that complexity, it creates this huge puzzle, what we'll call the marketing credit puzzle. Because with all those different touch points, if you just give all the credit to the very last thing someone clicked, well, you're getting a really warped, inaccurate picture of what's working. And let's be honest, making big decisions based on bad data, that's just a fast track to wasting your ad spend. Okay, so how do we actually solve this puzzle? This is where attribution models come into play. I want you to think of them like a toolkit. Now, there's this huge myth out there that there's one single best model for everyone, and that's just not true. The reality is the right tool always depends on the job you're trying to do. So let's get on the same page. What even is an attribution model? Well, Google's official definition is pretty simple. It's the rule or set of rules that determines how credit for sales and conversions is assigned. Basically, it's just your rule book for giving out credit. I love the soccer analogy. A goal is scored. Does all the glory go to the person who kicked the ball into the net? Or do you also give credit to the midfielder who made the incredible pass and the defender who started the whole play? That's the exact choice you're making with these models. All right, you've got your toolkit. Now, how do you pick the right tool? This is probably the single most important thing to remember. You do not pick a model based on your industry. You pick a model based on your business goal. It's all about what you're trying to achieve. Are you trying to build brand awareness, or are you laser-focused on ROI? Your answer completely changes which model is right for you. Okay, let's dive in with a really common goal, brand awareness. If your main objective is just figuring out what brought people to your front door for the very first time, then the first click model is going to be your best friend. And it's exactly what it sounds like. First click gives 100% of the credit, all of it, to the very first ad a person ever interacted with. Boom. This is perfect if you're, say, launching a new product. Your whole game is just about generating that initial buzz, right? This model tells you exactly which channels are doing the heavy lifting at the tippy top of your funnel. All right, next up, let's talk about last click. Now, this one's important because it's actually the default setting in Google Ads. It's the total opposite of first click. It's laser focused on that one moment right before the sale, answering that critical question, what was the final nudge that got this person to actually convert? So yeah, this model gives all the credit, all the glory to that very final touch point, and it can be super useful. Imagine you're trying to measure how effective a final 20% off promo email is. Last click is perfect for that. If your sales cycle is pretty short and sweet, and people tend to decide quickly, this model can give you a really clear idea of what's closing those deals. But, okay, what if you're thinking, wait a minute, both the first touch and the last touch are super important to me? Well, for that, we've got the position-based model. You might also hear it called the U-shaped model. This is really your go-to when your main goal is just straight-up sales and getting a good return on your investment. This one's way more balanced. Here's how it works. It gives a big chunk of credit, 40%, to that first touch that brought the customer in. Then it gives another big 40% chunk to the final touch that closed the deal. And that leftover 20%, it gets spread out evenly to all the little steps in between. I love this one because it values both the introduction and the final handshake. All right, moving on to what I like to call the most democratic model of the group, the linear model. Now, this one is a fantastic fit if you're running something like a subscription business, where really every touch point along the way is important for keeping customers happy and engaged. Just like the name suggests, the linear model splits the credit perfectly evenly across every single interaction. Everybody gets an equal piece of the pie. This is awesome if you want a really holistic view of the entire customer journey. It helps you see which channels are consistently playing a role, not just at the beginning or the end, but through the whole relationship. Okay, let's talk about a model that's all about timing. It's called time decay. This one's really valuable if your goal is all about getting repeat customers, or if you happen to have a really long sales cycle. So how does it work? Well, it gives more and more credit to the touch points the closer they happen to the actual conversion. It just makes sense, right? It recognizes that the ad someone clicked a month ago is probably less influential than the one they clicked yesterday. So it's perfect for figuring out which of those late-stage channels are really the most effective at finally pushing people over the finish line. And last but certainly not least, we have the smartest kid in the class, the data-driven model. This is Google's own machine learning powerhouse, and it is an absolute beast for complex lead generation campaigns. So instead of using a preset rule like the other models, this one actually looks at your specific data. It uses machine learning to figure out which touchpoints in your campaigns are truly the most influential, and it assigns credit based on that. Now, there is a catch. You need a pretty decent amount of conversion data for this to even be an option. If you don't have enough data yet, don't worry, the position-based model is a fantastic alternative to start with. And here it is, the whole toolkit, all in one place, your attribution model cheat sheet. Seriously, this is the slide to screenshot or pause on. Just find your main business goal in the chart, look across, and boom, that's the model that's going to give you the clearest data for what you're trying to do. So as we start to wrap this up, I really want you to remember this. The power here isn't about finding some magical perfect model that works for everything. No way. The real power is in understanding your own objectives and then consciously, strategically choosing the right tool for that specific job. And, the stakes are pretty high. There's a great line that really sums it up. Wrong attribution models will lead you to make poor decisions, while right models will unlock some powerful data. It's that simple. The choice you make here directly impacts the quality of every decision you make after. And that really brings us to the final, most important question. And this one is for you. I want you to look at your own campaigns, at your own business, and ask yourself, what is the #1 objective you're trying to solve for right now? Because answering that question, that's the first and most crucial step to finally choosing the right attribution model. Thanks for diving into this with me today.